In second species counterpoint, accented dissonances are allowed under two circumstances. First, the harmony must be prolonged, and second, the dissonances must eventually resolve into a consonance. So what notes could I use in measure 2 to create a dissonance on the strong beat while still keeping the harmony prolonged? First, we must ask, what is the harmony at the moment? This might be ambiguous. Nonetheless, we could find notes that fit a chord. Here's a more straightforward example here. Here we have a C in the cantus with a counterpoint of A and F written below it. If you imagine the whole chord stacked harmonically as one, then you'll see simply the notes from the bottom up F, A, C create an F major. In the next measure we have A again. Since A is a chord tone of F major, now we have the opportunity to prolong the F major chord in this next measure. So what note could be used to create a dissonance on the strong beat of measure 2? Try to come up with your own response before I give you the answer. Now if we choose E, that will create a fourth on the strong beat with A in the cantus. E is the seventh of an F major chord. This not only creates a dissonance of the harmonic interval of the fourth on the downbeat, but E also acts as a dissonance in the implied chord of F major itself while still being a chordal tone. So chordal tone being a 1, 3, 5, or 7, anything going above the 7th will be an upper extension. But the real thing to pay attention to here is the harmonic interval of the 4th created on the downbeat. This is the whole point of what we're doing. It works on the strong beat because it is still within the chord of F major. Like I was saying, you wouldn't want to use anything above a 7th. That wouldn't be considered a chordal tone. And going beyond that, using upper extensions, you would have a whole new set of rules and approaches, especially when using counterpoint. Even when using the 7th of a chord, it can be more risky than just using the chord tones within the triad. 7ths can imply some rather unwanted chords when using some scale degrees, especially when using a scale like the harmonic minor. Because of this, use caution when using 7th chords. Understand the type of 7th chord that you're going to be implying if you're going to be using the 7th of a chord. In this case, there's no problem because F, A, C, E creates an F major 7th chord, simultaneously taking advantage of the ambiguous nature of scale degree 3 and fitting it into a chord with subdominant function where it too acts as subdominant function. Next, all we have to do is resolve the chord on a consonance that uses notes within the F major chord. So think of a good option before I give you the answer. I chose F mainly because of it being the root note of the chord. Landing here gives a strong establishment that this has been an F major chord this whole time. This creates a third with A in the cantus. Any consonant interval that uses notes within the F major chord would be viable. So an F, A, and C would all be good options for the resolution. Of course, E would not be a good choice for the resolution as that is the 7th of the chord. And that brings us to the notes we would be able to use as dissonances in our F major chord. The notes F, A, and C could be used with no problem, and E could also be used, but it would be good to understand the type of 7th chord that you're implying when you're using that 7th of the chord. Interestingly, our ears have an ability to recontextualize what we just heard when presented with more harmonic information at the moment. So even if for the exact split-second moment that the E and the A creates a dissonance, our ears may not recognize it at that exact moment. But when we land on the F, our ears and our brain will realize that it was the 7th of an F major 7 chord. Okay, so now to conclude, the dissonances are made using the chord tones of the chord implied at the time. This is how we are prolonging that harmony. So the dissonances are occurring within that harmonic interval at the moment. And of course, this is happening on the strong beat. So using the notes of the chord, this means that the chord is always being implied. It is just creating a dissonant harmonic interval on the way to being resolved. A resolution would be any chord tone creating a consonant harmonic interval at the moment, a 1, 3, and a 5. Of course, some options for resolutions could be stronger than others. And also, when doing these dissonances, this can be stretched out away if the harmony is prolonged for a long time, allowing the use of multiple dissonances, even multiple dissonances in a row, on the way to resolving the consonants. As long as it resolves on a consonance, we're okay. Meaning that it could resolve in the next measure no problem, but that next measure would still have to be implying that F major chord or would end on something that would imply within the parameters of that F major chord. This is how you're going to have that consonance from the chord.